What's that?
Net discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening. I will call to order Wilsonville City Council meeting for November 18, 2019 at 7:06 p.m. and request a roll call, please.
Councillor West.
Here.
Council President Ackerval.
Here.
Councillor Lehan.
Here.
Mayor Knapp.
Here.
And Councillor Linville is excused.
Thank you. Would the audience please rise and join us in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please, the council, I'm open to a motion on order of agenda.
Your Honor, I move to approve the order of agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. We approve order of agenda. There are copies on the counter at the side of the room. If any of the audience would like to have one, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye passes 4-0, bringing us to communications, where we have one scheduled presentation on the Systems Innovation Award. Mr. Beshears. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Knapp, members of the council. My name is Dwight Beshear. I'm the transit director for Smart Fleet. And having been able to serve as a transit professional for the last 34 years, there are certain things that happen over that period of time that are memorable. Most of them very, very positive. And this is one of those times for a transit director. Back in 2017, we set out on a journey. Most of us didn't know where we would end up, but we knew where we wanted to go. And so we took on the monumental task of bringing electric buses here to Wilsonville. It hadn't been done only a few places in the country, and hadn't been done really anywhere in the state of Oregon. And so we set out on this journey, and the team was passionate about it. They knew that we needed to do this. They knew that we wanted to do this. And so we set out on this journey. And to say that it was difficult would be an understatement. There was no precedent. We had no assistance from those that you would think you would get assistance from. They were too trying to figure it out. And so with an incredible team, we were able to accomplish what I think the FTA and others would say would be nearly impossible for an agency our size. And smaller agencies across this state will continue to struggle. They too have a desire to electrify their fleet, but the cost and the learning curve, all of those things are so steep. And so we're hoping that what we've done will set an example, not only for the small agencies, but for the FTA, so that they can trust that if they invest in the small agencies across the state of Oregon, but not only across the state of Oregon, across this country, that they too will be successful in electrifying their fleet. So about 3 weeks ago, I received an email from Kelly Ross, who is sitting here to my right, and I apologize for not introducing him sooner. And Kelly Ross is, among other things, an incredible gentleman, but he is the executive director of the Oregon Transit Association. And I received an email from Kelly saying, "Congratulations, Dwight, you guys have won something." And so I will turn it over to Kelly to tell you a little bit about what we have won.
Mayor Knapp, councilors, as Dwight said, Kelly Ross representing the Oregon Transit Association before you this evening. Very happy to be here. Dwight is correct that just about 4 weeks ago at the association's annual conference in Seaside. I say we, but the association president, Alan Pollock, who's the general manager of Salem Kaiser Chariots, presented Dwight and members of his team with the Public Transportation System Innovation Award for 2019. And that award honors a public transportation system that has demonstrated innovative concepts or effective problem-solving techniques not previously applied in the Oregon public transportation industry. And it's one of the highest awards that the association gives, and we found that City of Wilsonville and SMART were extremely deserving of the award. And just a couple excerpts of the presentation that Alan Pollock made that evening. He recognized that SMART was the only Oregon transit operator to be awarded funding through the U.S. Department of Transportation's 2017 low or no emission bus program, and which led to the purchase of two 35-foot Proterra battery electric buses and associated Proterra charging infrastructure. Recognized the celebration you had during the summer on the 30 years of service, which I attended. It was a wonderful event. The first small urban transit provider in Oregon to successfully deploy electric buses in the state, and is providing an example and leadership to transit agencies around the state. A little bit about the Oregon Transit Association. We're very glad that City of Wilsonville and SMART has been a long-standing member of the association. OTA provides training to transit professionals, mainly through our annual conference, but also is deeply involved in the Oregon legislature with a full-time advocate there, and we're very active in getting House Bill 2017 passed in the 17th session. Actually, we started preparing for that session about a year and a half in advance and doing research, and retained John Fregonesi and Fregonesi Associates to develop a public communications program on the value of transit to Oregonians, and traveled around the state with the legislative task force that held hearings talking about transit. And it was amazing, I think, as we're all aware, House Bill 2017, creating an entirely new tax in Oregon, passed with bipartisan support and very little controversy, and is paying huge dividends now for transit agencies around the state. We're also glad to have Dwight as a member of our board of directors and very active leadership there. So very happy to present the city with this award, and Dwight has a video that was also played at the conference for the presentation.
We want to be on the cutting edge. We want to lead from the front and not from behind, and so that's what SMART is all about. Putting SMART on a path to alternative fuels, an aggressive path to alternative fuels. I think we're projecting by 2028 to be off of fossil fuels. It's the right thing to do. I think it's right for Oregon. I think it's right for the world. And having SMART leading that charge, I think, is going to bode well for the city of Wilsonville.
Clearly needed to start looking at other alternatives. With emissions requirements on diesel engines over the last 10 years, it's gotten more and more difficult to operate a diesel efficiently, especially in an application with a lot of stop and go, such as transit.
We learned some valuable lessons through the process. We went to a conference about a year ago, and that prepared Scott Simonton and I for what we knew was going to be a challenge deploying these buses, but because we picked the right manufacturer, we had good partners in this process, we were successful, and so we're extremely proud of that.
We were always kind of had our eye on this and waited until the technology arrived, and in my opinion, it came a lot faster than any of us thought it would, and these buses are proof that it's here and it works. We had some cost estimates done as far as energy usage, And we're tracking that, and we're actually coming in with less energy usage than was expected. So they're actually performing better kilowatt hours per mile, and it's overperforming.
These buses were bought with the community in mind. We hoped that what we were doing would be embraced by the entire community. The design of the buses, the wrap especially, which is something we're extremely proud of. The students here in Wilsonville designed the wrap. They did just a professional job with the wrap. And then Gillespie and the company that actually produced the wraps. This was a community effort.
This project was just another example of us being able to do things that, as a small agency, that is not always expected of somebody our size. I think that you expect to see these sorts of things in large cities, large transit operations, but we're proud of the fact that we're able to do these types of projects on a much smaller scale.
We couldn't be happier to be bringing these buses to Wilsonville, to the community, to the folks that we serve, and we're so happy that they're enjoying them.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, as the transit director and representing the men and women that work so very hard for SMART and Fleet, Mr. Ross, thank you. We would like to accept, and I think we have a group of folks here, including Nicole Hendricks, who was instrumental in this process as well, and she came back from Tigard. We will, for one day, accept her back into our fold. No, we love Nicole, but we accept, and I would certainly like everyone that is here representing Smart Fleet to come up and accept this award with us. And if we can all take a photo.
Yeah, come to the photo.
Sure.
Yeah, come up here, all your people. At least the mayor.
You're going to be behind.
Here we go. This is big.
Four of us.
All right. Back row.
So that background. The best I can do. Unless maybe I can get here. Well, you're too tall. We'll see if this works. Let's get your website in the background. All right. Seeing some smiles. Good job, guys. Looking good. All right. Did I go?
Well, I think that we have to say that this is pretty impressive, and I really am impressed personally by the commitment that you bring to this organization and the enthusiasm that has pervaded the whole crew. I thank all of you for the work that you do and the excitement that you bring to it. It is a team effort, and I think that, in fact, we are leading in many ways, and we're doing things that other agencies would like to do or not sure how to do. Showing them what's possible is great. So instead of taking the attitude that you could take, that, well, we're just a small operation that doesn't really affect that much in the whole scheme of things across the state. I think that the attitude that you have all brought to it and the work that you put in matters a great deal. So I want to thank you all personally on behalf of the council and the rest of the staff here and the community that benefits from the system that you operate. And I have to say that, big systems might have more people and more assets and whatnot, but I'll bet you guys are having fun while you do this too. And that is very, very nice to watch. So thank you all for the work you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, then we have more communications for citizens, opportunity for visitors to address council on anything not on the agenda. Also a time to address things that are on the agenda but not scheduled for public hearing. Staff and council will make every effort to respond to anything raised tonight, either before the meeting ends or as soon as we can thereafter. We do ask you keep your comments to 3 minutes, and there's a little street signal, green, yellow, red to remind you of that. Mr. Jeff Screen, please. And if there's anyone else that would like to speak, please do complete a speaker card from the counter and pass it forward to the city recorder, and we'll get you up here.
Thank you again for giving us an opportunity to address the council. I have copies of the RPZ petition that I completed and submitted online a couple of months ago. I just wanted to pass those around.
Okay. Encourage you to speak into the mic so that anybody that's watching on camera can hear you, not just see you.
I'm sorry. I passed out their copies of the RPZ petition request that we completed and signed by all the members of our cul-de-sac a couple of months ago. So you each have a copy of that. I'm not sure if you saw the online version. I'm here with my neighbors in the Meadows Court cul-de-sac, and we're speaking about the problem with our cul-de-sac is that it's really twofold. We have a visibility issue exiting our neighborhood, and we also have overcrowded parking, at least at times of the day and throughout the year because of student parking, because of the overflow problems at the high school, not being enough parking there. So recently signs went up on the corners, and I don't know when that was ordered. We saw it went up a couple of weeks ago, but we had requested in the petition for the signage to be a little bit further to the north and to the south for visibility reasons. So the signs that were up really don't solve our problem. They're very close to the corner, so we still have a visibility problem, mostly to the right, but even to the left-hand side, we're requesting that which will be the north, that the no parking sign be north of the mailboxes, which is basically one residence, and then to the south to the city path, because as we exit the cul-de-sac, it's a little bit more challenging to get out because the angles is a little tighter there, and any vehicle parked on the corner makes it hard to see, even with the new signage, and because the road does tend to turn, it curves in both directions, leaving the cul-de-sac. And secondly, we've requested a residential parking permit zone in our cul-de-sac. Currently, parking is not at an overflow problem, so we're thankful for that. We think that's mostly due to the fact that the sophomores have not yet received their driver's licenses. But we think this is also a great time to put up the signage that we're requesting, because in the short run, the lack of parking would not be missed. And in the longer term, when the sophomores do get their driver's licenses, they will know that they can't park in our cul-de-sac. We would, back to my original issue about the visibility, at the junction of Meadows Loop and Meadows Parkway, there's a 50-foot buffer on either side of the corner there, making for getting around the corner very easy. That's what we're hoping for as we leave our cul-de-sac, and that's why we think the signs that were established were just not far enough away. They're too close to the corner to be effective for our needs. And my 3 minutes are up. So,
all right, sir. Thank you very much. And I have a speaker card from Mr. John Swiskey.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Council. The parking signs that went up, what alarms me is that Council knew that we're in this process with this RPZ. It's been an ongoing issue. There's been petitions, signatures, Now, I don't understand how somebody may have jumped the gun on this and, put these signs, and you have to go drive by and see how they're anchored into the sidewalk. And as Jeff was saying, it really doesn't solve the problem. But what has me more concerned is there a communication gap on this council where, as I said, someone, pulled the trigger and said, hey, let's slam these parking signs in. Now, if they're within code, even within 20 feet, you have to look at the curb cut and the curvilinear of the cut. But one of the signs, and again, drive by and you can see for yourself, one of the signs, well, both are anchored in the sidewalk, but one of them is even extending into the neighbor's tree. So come spring and come summer, you're not going to even be able to see that sign. So that is my concern, and I hope that the placement of these two signs doesn't send a signal that we're complete with this process and it's done and put to sleep. So that's what I had to say. But thanks again for hearing me out, and I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, that's fine. I guess I would only say that council does not direct day-to-day every little thing that happens in this city. We direct overarching long-range policy, and we hire people to do the day-to-day. So we're not going to have a debate. I'm just responding to your question.
Thank you.
Are there any other people who wish to speak on this? I do not have any other speaker cards or any other topic. If not, we will then proceed onward. Next up is mayor's business, which I usually use to kind of recap what's been done as well as what's upcoming. I had a chance to have a personal sit-down meeting with the new mayor, new this year, I guess, Mayor of Tualatin, Frank Bubnik, and had an interesting discussion, got to know him a little better and understand where he's coming from. Been working with the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee with regard to recommendations for the regional flexible funds projects, which are for the, I'm trying to remember, 2022-2023 cycle, but they take their recommendations and make issues known quite a ways ahead. So the recommendations include construction of the Monroe Street Greenway project in Milwaukee for $3.9 million. In Clackamas County, the Courtney Avenue Bike Pedestrian Project is $1.2 million. And in Clackamas County, a couple of different areas where a system they call the industrial areas intelligent transportation systems, which are digital signage that aid in keeping the traffic free flowing. And those will be located in the Clackamas industrial area, Milwaukee, and in Wilsonville for about $1.8 million. All of the flexible funds projects are for non-automotive, non-roadway type of things. And so they're intended to fill in some of the gaps for the types of projects that have a difficult time getting funded through traditional road type funding sources. So that's the recommendations going from the county as a whole. And we'll see what happens when Metro has to filter through all the recommendations from all of the counties and make some decisions. Clackamas County representatives are working on the Transportation 2020 Task Force. We're looking at quarter level projects. We've had several meetings. I've even lost track. I don't know, 4 or 5 in the last month, looking at different recommendation possibilities and how those Clackamas County projects might be presented to the larger region and see if we can achieve some level of recognition and understanding about the needs of the county. And so that's an ongoing process. Decisions have not been made yet. Ultimately, the task force will make a recommendation on which corridors to prioritize. That recommendation will go to the Metro Council. The Metro Council will decide on whether or not to proceed or to alter that. Ultimately, it's probably leading to a bond vote in November of 2020 by the public to see if they want to fund this suite of projects, whatever that suite of project ends up being. The primary beneficiary of that bond measure would be the light rail construction from downtown out to Bridgeport, which they call the Southwest Corridor Project. And they are hoping to get a big cut, I guess, of the funds if that were to pass, to move that forward. I did speak at the Veterans Day commemoration at Wilsonville's Town Center Park and our Korean War Memorial there. It's always gratifying to be able to both speak to and to listen to some of the vets, many of whom are in the latter stage of their lives, I guess, and the work that has been done to be sure that veneration of the Korean War vets and the people that served at that time are continued and remembered going forward. The Korean business community has done a lot to step in and help work with foundation work to be sure that the structure of that organization goes forward, even as we're losing many of the vets that were actually participants. I attended a Clackamas County Business Alliance meeting that was presented by the Oregon Business Alliance and the Pacific Northwest International Trade Association that looks at international trade going out of Oregon, what the numbers look like, what market sectors are involved, what the trends are in those things. All pretty significant stuff, and I don't want to go into numbers particularly, but Oregon is oversized compared to its population in the amount of exports that are going out, especially in the agricultural end of it. There's a lot of Oregon-grown commodities that go overseas, and there's a lot of commodities grown in other states that are leaving the continent through Oregon also. And so international trade is very important and very significant in our economy. Had the monthly Metropolitan Mayors Consortium meeting, and we had some very good discussion in that group. We had not met a couple of times through the summer. We had a couple of new people that don't normally come, so that's an ongoing project. We're kind of looking at what legislative priorities that group might have for the upcoming short session in February this coming year. Attended the Greater Portland Inc. Economic Development meeting. We have a group called the Small Cities Consortium that Wilsonville participates in, working at both retaining existing businesses, facilitating opportunities for existing business to grow within our metropolitan area when they have a need to do so instead of going elsewhere in order to grow. And also that group works pretty aggressively with recruiting and making known what advantages there might be to companies that are in other areas and might like to grow and tap into the assets and the people that we have in Oregon. And so it's a very helpful group for us to participate in, and I think we will find benefit in continuing to do that. Attended the JPAC meeting, which is the Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation, another metro body. They're working with metro improvement projects around the region, so we had that in front of us for approval. There's a work plan annually for their mobility policy, so that was updated and adopted. Within some of that work is a small approval for the phase 1 of the Wilsonville I-5 Boone facility plan on Boone Bridge widening and the seismic study. And primarily this is a small technical approval in order to enable the assessment work that ODOT has been directed to do can go ahead, and it's kind of looking at the structural engineering and the geotechnical analysis as to issues that would pertain to that bridge if we were to talk about moving forward with that additional southbound lane that we've been talking about. We are looking, I guess, kind of overlaps with the T2020 that was mentioned earlier, looking at the various options and proposals there. All through the metro area, there are significant projects that constituencies would like to see done. And the question is, what would benefit the region the most in our joint mobility, in our ability for our businesses and our industry that is the foundation of our economy to function and function efficiently, the jobs that are there. What do we do about it? The estimate is that by 2040, there'll be another 500,000 people in the metropolitan area. They're going to have to live somewhere. They're going to tend to move around some way. There right now is already pretty severe congestion on many of our corridors, and so figuring out what to do and what to recommend is a pretty big piece of that. The metropolitan region worked collectively a couple of years ago to adopt a strategy on what they call climate smart solutions, and a big part of what they committed to doing through that process was to have more public transit available and try to build a system that gives people a option for a way to get around without having the only option be to drive alone in their vehicle. We're still a long way in Wilsonville from being able to just jump on public transportation and go wherever we want, whenever we want. As great as our smart system is, it's limited in size, and we interface with TriMet, of course. But I think that a lot of the impetus on the T2020 recommendation will be around public transportation improvements in many ways. So we'll have to see how that goes. That's enough from me. Let the councilors tell us what's going on in their world. Councilor President Ackerball.
Yeah, a little while ago, I was able to attend the fundraising event at the library with several of the council members, and that is always a very fun event, and it's great to see members of the community come out and support our libraries, and especially the Imagination Library Program, which is a great asset for the very young in our community, as they're able to receive free books from birth until age 5. Every month in their mailbox, they get their own piece of mail, which is a book for them to keep and to use and expand their library as they grow and develop. As holidays are approaching and coming up, I wanted to also draw attention to the toy drive that the city does. And we can bring, it's already underway. Let's see, I think it started the 4th, but it will continue until December 13th. And you can bring unwrapped toys to the Parks and Recreation Administration building. And I always think it's a great opportunity to drop off your toy when you're there for the tree lighting, which is also coming up on the 4th, I believe, December 4th. So that's something that you can participate in as we're heading into the holidays, and probably many of us will be doing some shopping over the next few weeks. So something to keep in mind to contribute to our community in that way as well. Yep.
All right, thanks very much. Councilor Lehan.
The only thing I wanted to mention is that the McMenamins Old Church has their history pub coming up on November 26th, which is Tuesday. It's always the last Tuesday of the month. And this time it is the person who will be performing, I guess you would say, is Tom Swearingen, who is an Oregon cowboy poet and musician. So, and of course talking, but the title of the program is About Rymem Cowboy. So this is, Tom Swearingen has been a headline and featured performer at Western music and cowboy poetry festivals throughout the West. So I am looking forward to that. If you're coming, it starts at 6:30, but the doors open at 5, and it's a good idea, especially with a headliner like Tom Swearingen, that you're there closer to 5 than 6:30 if you want to get a seat. But you can have dinner and refreshments throughout the program, so it's always fun.
All right, thanks very much. Councilor West.
Thank you. I also had the opportunity to attend the library event. It was a lot of fun. My favorite winery was Tumwater. They did I enjoyed their wines, and there was a white Pinot that was there, fundraising for the great raffle, fundraising for the Imagination Library. Also, fantastic opportunity for our children here, and hopefully we can see that replicated throughout the state. So I know we're proud of that. Last night, I had the honor of hosting and putting on a special event for the Villalba fire victims, our quick little nonprofit that we put together when we heard of the fire that everybody knows about, raised over $50,000 for the fire victims. And last night they were able to come and receive the final disbursement from the organization, kind of have a community gathering. TFNR was there, the fire department came, kids were there, and it was kind of a cathartic, we overcame this as a community, we overcame this tragedy moment, and it was a lot of fun. The peacemakers were there. One of the quilters is 96 years old for our peacemakers. Fabulous group. They heard that these victims had gone through this, and they turned around and made 20 quilts, these like heirloom piece, beautiful quilts. Every family got to pick a quilt that they liked, went home with the quilt, and just felt supported. And it was a real great opportunity in a community event in Villalba last night. So that was an honor to put on and be a part of also. So yeah, between all the fundraising and the charity and community events, it was a lot of fun the last 2 weeks.
Okay, well, this is the first time in my 17 years on council that I remember having an agenda with no business at all. Mr. Cosgrove.
I'm not looking to extend your evening, but I will tell you that we have a quarterly update on your goals and your administrative action items. Happy to answer any questions on that. One item, which is a council goal, is the Parks Bond 2020. And we're looking for someone from council to sit in on those task force meetings and represent the city council, not to chair the meetings. That's going to be the chair of the Parks and Rec Board will be chairing those meetings. But if you think about it, the first meeting will be December 10th, and then there will be a total of up to 5 meetings between December and the end of March. So if anybody has any capacity, think about that. Maybe talk to the mayor. That's the mayor's appointment. But if you have interest in that, please let the mayor know. And I can give you the specific dates if once we identify someone from council to do that. And then one other thing I just want to notice to you is that I made a challenge to city staff, and we have someone in the HR department that kind of made it a fun challenge between departments. One of the things that came out of the housing report was that 40% of the folks that go to Boones Ferry Primary are on free and reduced lunch. So that caught my eye, and we were thinking internally what we could do as a city government to support the kids that go there. And we came up with a snack drive. And my staff, my incredible employees, came up with about 10,000 snacks that we delivered in 2 trucks to Public Works trucks to Boones Ferry Primary. And I think the teachers over there were pretty overwhelmed with the response. So it's probably going to be something that we do every year. We have a lot of different things we do during the holiday season, so that'll be a new one that we add to the list. So I just wanted to thank my employees for such a great response.
That's great.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for the city manager or about the work plan or the goal progress?
Excellent.
All right.
I wanted to ask, without trying not to be discouraging anyway, it looked to me like we're kind of behind on a lot of goals. There's quite a few things listed to be done in third quarter and even in fourth quarter. And I'm thinking, well, fourth quarter's got like a month plus Christmas and we're done. So,
Well, you'll notice that a lot of those ones that are slipping tend to be the major infrastructure ones.
yeah,
And that is a capacity issue in the engineering department that I think I spoke to you about last week, but I think the rest of them are tracking. Some of them are already done, but we can certainly go through those if you have any concerns.
well, I can do that with you offline too. So. Okay, anything else? Legal.
On a positive note, legal business, the appeal, I'm sorry. I always want to turn it on when I shouldn't have it on, and I don't when I should. But anyway, the time period to appeal the Basalt Creek LUBA decision has passed, so it looks like we're finally good on Basalt Creek. So that's good news.
That is good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
All right, anything else? If not, we could be adjourned at 7:47 or 8.
As soon as you've ever been adjourned.
I don't know.
You've been adjourned sooner than that.